Hello, welcome back to the land of Kakiak. My name is Laurel and I homeschool my 3 boys using the Robinson curriculum as the base of our education. Today I was going to talk about what I'm going to use with my 7th grader in the upcoming school year. Okay, so one of the fun takeaways from the Robinson curriculum that we hold on to is the year-round homeschool. So we homeschool year-round, and we just take breaks, here and there for holidays or, just special things. But for the most part, most days, we're in the schoolroom. Actually, 6 days a week. Anyway, so now that you know that about us, it makes my grade level choices kind of wobbly. Because there is no stopping and then starting up again, really, We usually will take a week off in the summer. It's probably max. What I tend to do is what I'm actually doing in this upcoming week, which if you saw my last planning video, I talked about it. What I tend to do instead of taking actual chunks of time off is I just roll it back to just the 3 R's. And the kind of work that the kids can basically do independently. I tend not to take complete breaks, except for maybe for Christmas, maybe for a week, and in the summer for a week, honestly. All that said, let's jump into the subjects. Let's start with just the easiest ones. Let's start with math. So he'll be moving into 7-6. I found a 2nd edition just by searching on Amazon and looking for used versions. And this one was, I kid you not, brace yourself, 10 doll hairs. I was on, and the picture was just a picture of the cover. It's just stuff, and there was no pictures of the inside. And I legitimately was concerned that somebody was trying to just sell me a cover. Because it said, just the way that the wording of the ad was kind of funny. It sounded kind of like, are they just selling a cover? Or then I thought, it's going to come, it's going to be total junk, it's going to be written all over inside. And it came, and it was actually, looks like it was originally at Abe Books, and there was actually a $5.99 sticker on it. So they charged me $4 for shipping, because I got free shipping, my Amazon Prime. But it's literally in perfect condition. So, praise God. I get such a joy for getting something good at a good price, don't you? Okay, the other thing, then I was searching for a solutions manual, because then you have to try to find a solutions manual or something that's the same edition, so they can, because I don't know, and when I was a kid, our math books, we didn't use Saxon at school, but they always had at least every other, remember in the back you could turn, it was every other answer. So I would so I could check if I was doing it right, if I was coming up with the answers or not right, at least at home, and then they'd fully correct it at school. So there's never any excuse to not at least get 50% of your answers right on your homework. Anyways, so I was looking for a solutions manual. I could not find one. And thank you to, well, maybe she doesn't want me to say her name on the interwebs, but there's a member of our Robinson curriculum official page who put together a Saxon 7-6 2nd edition solutions manual. And it's in the files. Check the files if you're in the group. And I printed it out and I bound it with my comb binder, which I use constantly. That's ended up being a really good purchase for us. But look what she made. So I'm going to try to use this, and then that's math, right? That's just math. We're doing Saxon. That's that. Let's talk about reading. For what we call, I still call it reading. I still have reading and writing in my mind, because that's just the way I've been teaching them and keeping records and everything. So I'm just continue on thinking about things as reading or writing, and then all those little subjects would fall under those 2 main headings for me. So for reading, we're going to be sticking with the RC book list, and then I also I interject the G.A. Henty historic novels with that. I've been talking about that stuff, So I'm going to continue to do that. I'm going to try to keep it in sync with at least the Henty books coming in. While we are doing history lessons, I'll try to find a Henty novel that matches up with something we're talking about in history at the time, and then probably do one or two other ones during our science times, because I don't know, if you're new, I alternate my history and my science units back and forth. We just don't have time to do both of those at the same time. So when we're going to be doing reading, I'll be, RC book list, Henty books. On top of that, so I have been doing, up until now, so the way I, extra things or I do with our book list readings, I start them out with the comic book and summer guide assignment, which is in my Etsy store, and then I move them from there into the book notes and summary guide assignment. So they're taking chapter notes and writing a book summary for every book. Then I've started introducing study guides with the Henty books in the 6th grade. And now I'm going to be moving into, for as far as like what they'll be doing with each book, I like to have an assignment with each book, how to write a book report, book review, or literary analysis step by step. So I'm going to have him do this in reading. So instead of having him, read a book, maybe like the first week of the new year, whenever I start doing this, and probably sometime in September, we'll start this. And just make sure, because you can't just assign it to them before they know how to do it, right? So we'll work through that a little bit, and then I'll have him hold on to this and then go ahead and apply it. And I would like to see some book reports or literary analysis for each book that he's reading, right? So I'll keep you up, since I haven't done it yet, that's just my plan. I'll do like some kind of update video where I talk about how this resource is working for us, but I'll leave you the link for this down below if you want to take a look at it. Okay, the other thing we're going to do for reading is we are going to read I like to have like a book or something that we do together, and then things that he does independently. He obviously can just read his book independently on his own time, but we are going to read together how to read literature like a professor. Or perhaps I will just read it first and then assign him reading. And the other thing is how to take great notes. So what I'm really interested in this book is the Cornell method of note-taking. I mean, there's the more like the outline method of note-taking, but I feel like that's, as far as like reading books, I think the Cornell method makes more sense for if you're just reading something that you want to extract the information out of and learn from that resource, right? So we're going to do these. I'm not 100% sure how I'm going to structure that day to day or week to week yet, but as I start doing my planning videos, you'll start seeing how that gets worked out. So I'll link those for you too in the description if you're interested. I want him to start getting a deeper understanding of literature, so this is to help him with. This is because you'll always need to know how to take notes, to learn stuff your whole life. And then if I have them take notes on it'll kill two birds with one stone, right? That's what I'm thinking. Hopefully it works out. Okay, let's continue on our language arts kind of English track. I'm just keeping this book around. I know I've showed it to you guys before. My son actually really likes it, and so we're gonna keep it. So anything that comes up that we want to, there's actually so much information in this, and it's really affordable, and it's really kid friendly. I feel like it's just the right amount of like color and like little pictures and things without being too distracting. So I really like the formatting of this book. Spelling, in theory, he should be through all of my McGuffey spelling program by next year. So hopefully hopefully we'll get through all that. I do intend on probably doing spelling boot camp again with him next year, just to at least keep things reviewed and fresh in his mind. I feel like so much stuff is just exposure. You just have to be exposed to things like rules and ideas just over and over and over and over until eventually it just sticks in there. So because he was public schooled for the first, through the 3rd grade, and then there's all that turbulent adjusting and figuring things out that first year and stuff, I feel like he's a little behind where I would like him to be in certain things, especially like spelling, because they literally never taught spelling. As far as I know, never taught phonics in his public schools. So yeah, so some things with him are a little bit more on the remedial side. Okay, so that comes down to, so usually if I'm done with spelling, I like to kind of separate out spelling and then the vocabulary. So this is kind of an RC thing. They start you on, they're heavier on the vocabulary. And I think I'm going to come up with a solution to that kind of thing myself. I'll just make a separate video on that. I need to do an updated RC vocabulary video because I did one like a year ago or so, and I feel like I probably need to do an updated one. So I'll put something about talking about vocabulary a little bit later in my take on it. But so for Everett, if he's through spelling, maybe he's just getting a yearly refresher in spelling boot camp, which I'm also working on. Now that my free version isn't available anymore because I closed that store, I am working on. I'm gonna go back through that program and add more to it. Now that we've gone through it with my sons, and fill it out. It was kind of just a skeleton and I will put it in the Etsy shop when it's more filled out. I mean, my spelling rules and like definitions flashcards are already in the shop, which are helpful, but I am going to flesh out that boot camp. Off topic. Sorry. Okay, but for vocabulary, just because the RC vocabulary program just has never worked for Everett. So if you know our vocabulary track, I started him, I just was like, forget their program. I'm sure it works for some people, but just for him and specifically it didn't. So I put him into, we did Latin, red hot root words, book 1 and 2, and then my weekly packets to go along with that, just because I feel like most vocabulary programs, I like the things they introduce, but then there's just not enough practice material for it to really like stick. So I supplement our vocabulary workbooks and things with a weekly packet. So we just are basically really focusing on a set of words for a week, and then we test at the end of the week, and if he doesn't get like an 80% or higher, then we just redo it, you know. Or alternatively, sometimes if I feel like he's really close, we just take the words he missed and kind of add them on to the next week's batch of words. So we're working through, currently in 6th grade, book 2 of the Red Hot Root Words books. And I don't know if exactly when we're gonna finish, but whenever we finish, it'll be sometime in 7th grade, I plan on moving him into why can't I say wordly wise? Book 7, Systematic Academic Vocabulary Development. That's my plan. I saw quite a few in our RC groups talking. I saw quite a few parents say that they use Wordly Wise. I checked it out, looked good. A lot of families are using it, and I was like, I'm just gonna go ahead and pick that up. So I have, as you can see, it's still in the plastic. I literally haven't opened it. So if you want me to do a flip through of any of the resources I talk about today, leave me a comment and say flip through Wordly Wise or whatever it is that you want me to do a separate flip through on. Okay, more language arts, right? Into the writing. So far, everything I've been talking about has been, to me, falling under the well, except for I consider spelling, writing, and vocabulary reading, right? I think I've talked about this before. I'll just say it again. So when I designate things, I say reading and writing. So for reading comprehension and vocabulary, mainly for reading, right? And so you saw how those resources I was showing you fall into that. For writing, I would say things like grammar, spelling, text structure, things like that, I think fall more into the category of writing. So for our writing program, so for Everett, again, we're kind of starting a little bit late. I started him into the writing and rhetoric series this year. And because we do year-round homeschooling, I trenched it out, so about 2 a year. Whatever, we started on level 3 just because he was already in 6th grade. That's, you know, we should have started in 4th grade, right? If I was going to have this plan from the beginning. But you know, I'm tweaking things as we go. But so I'm going to do, this year we're doing books 3 and 4. So next year I anticipate doing books 5 and 6. So I'll just show you book 5. right? So there'll be a student workbook and a teacher edition. And again, I talked about this before with the current edition, but I plan on buying the MP3. There's a reader who reads like the stories and stuff that are in here, which is kind of nice to have that component where they listen and just read along to the story component of it. So we will be doing writing and rhetoric, but this one is on refutation and confirmation. Yeah, so again, I bought these used on Amazon. I'll leave links to these things so you can look at them and look at how clean it is. So my solution, because I have 3 kids and these resources need to last, I don't want to have to buy things every year again and again, is to have them give them a notebook and have them write the writing parts, the things that they would write in here, just write it in their notebook instead, and then just keep this clean. But I like them to have their own because then they can read along with me or with the reader, and they can't look at the teacher guide because the teacher guide has answers in it. You know, so I would say I recommend both, right? I mean, I would just recommend getting the student and the teacher edition, but then get that notebook for them to write in. Okay, so we've done math, reading, and writing. So for science this year, it's a required subject in my state. We are going to be doing, this looks heavy, Apologia's General Science. So I can't remember. I feel like this is maybe, Apologia's website maybe called this like a 6th grade level science, but I'm influenced by my RC course of study. And so if you're an RC parent, you know what I mean, how you don't want to give them overly simplified models because they're young, that they then have to like unlearn to learn real science later. So some of the things I choose, I mean, they fall into the science category and I think that they're beneficial, but I'm not trying to give my kids, any of them, overly like too deep of scientific stuff or scientific curriculum before they're ready for it, you know? So sometimes I may have something that says, oh, it's for 6th grade, but I'm not giving it to them until 7th grade. I think it's fine. The material is the material. It's fine. Okay, so General Science. This is a 3rd edition. Yeah, again, I just bought these used. I'll leave you links to everything down below so you can check them out. I wanted to go with Apologia because I wanted a Christian curriculum. It's really disappointing. We had to get rid of our Scientific American subscription. Like, we are a family that likes science. I get this from my dad. My dad, I mean, when he was a kid, he wanted to be a scientist, you know. He ended up being a teacher, and then a history teacher, and then leaving that to be a home builder. So he's quite a well-rounded character, isn't he? So we always had, you know, Science News, Scientific American, just like all those types of magazines and things are at my house, and we were always like reading those articles and talking about them. I really treasured that time with my dad, you know, talking about stuff like that. And so it was so sweet. He got a subscription for Everett, my soon-to-be 7th grader, like years ago when he was like tiny, because Everett was interested in, you know, science type things. And I got to this point, and I would always look at them too. I liked them too, right? It was just sweet. Across the generations, we all, you know, keeping this interest in scientific discovery and innovation, and it was something that we could always talk about. Like, hey, like we talk about, did you see that? Because I can't talk about a lot of things with my dad. Like, my dad loves Oregon Duck football, right? Big fan. I don't care, you know. Like, he hunts. There's just a lot of things, especially across just certain people in your family you love, but you just don't have a lot in common to talk about. So there's certain things, and for our family, it was always kind of more academic things and spiritual things that we could still talk about. So I could still talk to my dad about the Bible and things like that. I could still talk to him about, hey, Dad, did you see that article in Scientific American? This, you know, and we could talk about that. Or archaeology. We, you know, actually went to school. I have a degree. you know, in archaeology. That was interesting to him. We could talk about archaeological discoveries and all types of stuff. And we just one of those things that these disciplines can actually be bonding for families, you know. Now that was nice to pass that on to my son, and that we could all, you know, we could bring him into the family discussion, right? But we had to say, I had to tell my dad, my mom and dad, thank you, but you know, that's another publication that's been infiltrated and is just full of, you know, the woke stuff that I don't want to give my support to, and I don't want influencing my son. It got to the point where I was actually just like, as soon as they would come in the mail, I was just throwing them straight in the garbage, like immediately. So, anyways, science is important to our family, but it is important to me that it's logical, that it is actually teaching the scientific method, and it's not some kind of social engineering, you know? So that's why I went with Apologia. I felt like I could trust Apologia for general science. And let me show you how, oh my gosh. I mean, even now, I mean, there's resources that we use that I like, you know, skip parts of it. You gotta be careful about that stuff. It's sneaky. They put it into everything. They put it into kids programming. They put it into your books, just all types, and they call it science, and it's actually not scientific. It's really annoying to me, actually. Okay, so here's the notebook that comes with it. Look at how thick it is. Wait, this is the book. Oh my gosh, these are heavy. And this is the notebook. I like that it's all bound in one place. So student notebook. So this I did have to buy new because you know, you could buy something written in. And so module 4, scientific analysis and history. What to do, it tells them what pages to read. Check off the tasks on this list as you complete them. So the tasks are take note on the sections by completing the question prompts in the graphic organizers and by writing the definitions of the vocabulary word. So it's kind of like just a little study guide for each chapter. Then investigate. Under investigate, they have the explore more activity for them. Then they have complete 41, check off this day on your daily schedule. Okay, so it's helping them stay organized. And I like this because it seems like this is going to help me with like planning. I don't have to plan. It's all there for me. I love that about this curriculum. And it's all, so the planning's already in here. I just basically have to record what they do. For my lesson planner for our records, our state also requires record keeping. So I just use my planner for that. I've talked about that before. So that's what we're using for science. Again, if you want a more in-depth flip through, I'd be happy to do a flip through of this. I just wanted to let you guys know all my picks for next year. Oh, there was one more thing I forgot to mention about grammar. Okay, so originally, I already bought this, Daily Grams, grade 7. And the thing about this is, it says student workbook. I don't know if there's a teacher guide too, but I would say if you get something like this, you're gonna need something like this, so that if there's something that they can't remember what it is, like an adverb or something, what's the difference between an adjective and an adverb? You know, sometimes the words are similar and get confusing. Then so that they can look it up. So just keep that in mind. Although, so that's my plan for grammar, and it's just really short. If you're not familiar with Daily Grams, they're very short. By 7th grade, we've talked about grammar quite a bit, right? But if you haven't, let's say you're wanting to do something more remedial, maybe you're just pulling your kid out, you know, this year from school, and you're like, there are these holes. I'll leave a link for this too. This was a resource recommended by Karen over at our house, and it's Wheeler's Graded Studies and Great Authors. So this is actually in the public domain, so you could find it and print it out online somewhere. But I wanted the book version, and I really like the way that I just like the feeling of a book, you know? And it's hard. I wanted a hardback one because I wanted it to last. I know there's also Harvey's, which I've talked about before as well, but I just picked this one up because I wanted to see it. And what I like about it is that it also goes over, it also includes like spelling and stuff like that in it. And they're just lesson, like 1-page lessons. So lesson 1, long A as in hate, marked A, and then it shows like the macron over it. Copy the following sentences. So they would just copy the sentences, like just get their notebook out and copy it. Note carefully the capital letters and punctuation, so you could have them go back and like highlight those or circle them or something. And then 2, write from dictation. So then they'd give you back the book and you would dictate it to them and they would try to write it correctly, without looking at the ones they already wrote, right? They'd flip over their page, do a fresh page or whatever. And that's it for lesson 1. So I like that this is drawing attention to both grammar and spelling. And they're nice little quotes that they are that you're dictating to them, they're all from famous people or famous authors or famous public figures. Like its sunlit mountaintops are bathed in heaven's own blue. James A. Garfield. So just nice little things like that. So it looks like there's about 7 or 8 on each page. Like here's a lesson 85. Some words pronounced alike, or homophones. Copy carefully, write from dictation. At 3, use the italicized words in sentences of your own. So, one lone beach, unclosing there, its light leaves in the vernal air, by John Greenleaf Whittier. And one lone beech, like the tree, B-E-E-C-H, is italicized. So now this is kind of like vocabulary. You have to understand the meaning of it. So if you don't know, you could they could look it up. So if they don't know what these, what the difference is, they're showing them peace, P-E-A-C-E, and peace, P-I-E-C-E. And they use P-I-E-C-E twice. They say, I'll make a piece of poetry, and what a piece of work is man. They're showing it used in different contexts, but then they're also supposed to write their own sentence with those words. So this just seems really nice and gentle. And so I can see why it was a good pick by Karen for a remedial resource. And yeah, I mean, you could do this before 7th grade, but I'm going to keep this probably for all my kids. This also might be, I feel like something like this would be really good. So if you're pulling a kid out of public school and they're, maybe a little bit like upper elementary or middle school or even high school, it's never too late to pull your kids out. Just and do the whole filling and correcting that you need to do. It's don't give up on your kids just because they're teenagers. Like if anything, it might be easier because they're older and smarter and more capable already. I think something like this might be really good to do if you have an older kid that needs something remedial, but it might be helpful to a younger student also who this might just be more their level. So you could do this as like a family subject. You could do these exercises with everybody, right? I think that was everything I was going to show you today. So I'm excited for the upcoming year. I always get so excited for the new subjects, for the new books and stuff. If you have any questions about anything, if you want to see anything I talked about today in more depth, I will leave you all the links down below. And if anything you want to see a flip through of, just write it in the comments. Besides that, happy planning!